about 3 minutes past, we might get started. Welcome, everybody. Hello, my name's Andrea. I am the slow coach. I'm based in Sydney. In case you missed the housekeeping right at the beginning, the session is being recorded. You should all be on mute, but you have the option to switch your cameras on if that's your preference. If you do switch your cameras on, just bear in mind that that will form part of the recording, and we will share it with all participants after the event. If you do have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask it at any time, or I will set aside a few minutes right at the end for you to ask me then. I probably won't monitor the chat box just to begin with. Got too much going on my screens, but I will have a look at it at the end. So yeah, unmute yourselves to ask, or just if you want to type it in the chat box, that's fine, but I'll only check that right at the end. So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate your time, and a very, very special thank you to Erin from Unearthed Vitality in Gordon for hosting this session and for inviting me to be on this tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity. Sounds like Erin has an incredible product, incredible range of services, and a really, really nice match for the slow coach, which I'll explain a little bit more in the next few minutes. So thank you. Okay. So about me, I find it really funny that I'm talking to you tonight about running, because I was never the sporty kid, and to be honest, I'm still not. I'm not naturally athletic. I never ran at school. I've never really even had much of an interest in sport. I've always been a bit of a couch potato. I'm a book-loving, frizzy-haired academic, you know, who sang in choirs. The geeky girl at the back of the classroom. And my face goes really, really red when I exercise. So I look ridiculous. I've got a bit of a turned out gait from years and years of doing ballet. I'm just the complete antithesis of the archetypal runner. But a couple of years ago, it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago, I went through some personal trauma, which I'll get into in a minute. We moved. I suddenly found myself in a city where I didn't really know anybody, and I was processing a lot of anxiety and a fair bit of grief. And I can't really remember how I started running, but I do remember joining the Couch to 5, signing up for a Couch to 5K program and working my way through that. And kind of by accident, I discovered that running was a real gateway to a couple of awesome things. The main one for me was child-free time, and child-free time that had my husband's full blessing. It also was a great way, I discovered, to manage my own anxiety. It did wonders for my mental health. And gradually, you know, as I got a little bit better at it, I found that it really appealed to that part of my brain that likes to sort of measure things, set goals, and achieve goals. So my first sort of 2 minutes of running nonstop, my first 1K of running nonstop or so, or just being able to run up a certain hill that I couldn't do before. Those kinds of little goals, those little achievements, lit up a series of fairy lights in my head, and yeah, I progressed from there. But a big part of all of that was something else that I was going through in parallel. So my husband had been diagnosed with cancer, and he's fortunately now fully recovered and he's fine. But about the same time, and in fairly quick succession, I lost 2 very dear friends to cancer. And I watched a couple of other people being affected by it. And I just had this kind of moment of realizing that I had one thing that those people that I loved didn't have. And that was a healthy body. It was probably the one thing that they wished for and were likely not going to regain. And I had it. And at that particular point in time, I was kind of squandering it. I was watching daytime TV and eating far too many potato chips. And I just kind of realized, well, I have this blessing. How about I see what it can do? How about I give myself the gift of a life where I can look back and go, for a period in time, I had a healthy body, and I marked it and I used it. And that's something that my present self a gift that my present self can give to my future self. And I will look back on it and hopefully I will be proud of having done something, achieved something. And so one day when I can't run, I'll be able to look back and go, well, at least when I could, I did. And I'm glad of that. So yeah, that was a big part of it. Now, it's not a gauzy tale of inspiration. I'm no massive role model. I'm very flawed. I'm very awkward. But running solves a lot of problems for me. It helps control my weight. It manages my mental health a little bit better. It's been a great avenue for making friends and so much more. So that's kind of the back door into running. Sorry, I forgot to click these buttons. Here we go. But the primary thing that I kind of want to stress that for me, running is not necessarily about weight loss or about running marathons or achieving medals or getting a podium finish. It's not about any of those things. And believe it or not, it's not even really about a love of running. And I know that's astonishing given that I am an accredited running coach, but I don't necessarily always like running. In fact, a lot of the time I hate it. It's uncomfortable, it's hot, you have to get up early, all that, wear awkward, itchy lycra, all those things. Some runs are awesome, but some absolutely suck. And the thing that keeps me going though, is that even though I don't love running necessarily, I always love who I am when I'm done. And that's a big motivator for me. Whatever the problem is for me, the solution is usually to keep running, to persist, to never give up. And this is a big mantra for me, that there will be a day when I can no longer run, but today is not that day. So, not to make this too much about me, but running has had a massive impact on my life. It has brought me an incredible bunch of friends. The incredible shared story that you have instantly when you pass another runner on the road, or you happen to overhear a running conversation, you're able to join in. I've met some amazing people, and from that comes an incredible sense of tribe. It's also given me phenomenal confidence. I battle with anxiety. I feel awkward a lot of the time. I'm not good at small talk or have very few social skills, but I can kind of be proud of the fact that I can run at the moment fairly long distances, and that I have come such a long way. And there's an enormous amount of confidence that comes from that. And I think what I've touched on already is the sort of that sense of knowing, the fact that I spent years wondering if I could run a half marathon, and I now can spend the rest of my life knowing that I did. There's fantastic confidence that comes with that. And it's just something I'm passionate about and something I'd love to pass on. So one of the big questions I get a lot is, or one of the things I hear from people a lot is, oh, I'm not a runner, or I can't run. And I have learned through trial and error and through a lot of research and reading that actually you are, we can all run. We were to a large extent born to run, possibly designed to run more so than we are to walk. And this is going back millennia, but basically for evolutionary reasons, we are actually designed to run very long distances, usually very slowly. We are able to sweat, which is something that none of our predators on Earth can do. So we can chase down our meal, which is something we had to do back in the day. So we are actually designed to run. Can I just ask you to mute your microphones, please? I'm not sure whose that is. Thank you. So believe it or not, there is something in your DNA that is very connected to running. And I think that sometimes when you unlock it, it releases this tremendous joy, confidence, ability, determination, mental health, all those things that are linked up with those things that are embedded in our cells, and running is just amazing. Why did I start Slow Coach? Well, this is one of the main reasons. So I've already mentioned that I'm awkward. I carry weight very easily, but I love running. And the more I learned about it, the more I got frustrated about images like this. The running conversation and the mainstream running media is pretty much consistently made up of images like this. That particular girl or a version of her wearing that particular crop top or a version of it, and words like you can probably see on your screen that say fitter, leaner, faster, outrun stress for good, lose 10 kilos, train easy but run fast. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's great. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. Those are completely valid. Those are completely real, but there is so much more to the running conversation than that. You don't need to run for speed or for weight loss or for strength. I mean, if you want to, brilliant. But why not run to enjoy some time alone, right? Why not run to have some time to think? Why not run to have time on your feet or time to process something that you're struggling with, or rehearse a difficult conversation that you need to have with your teenager, or grieve for somebody who you love who is ill? Why not be proud of running slowly? Why are we so obsessed with being faster and stronger and better? A run is just as valid if it took half an hour or if it took 5 minutes. It's still a run. And I wanted to have that conversation. I wanted to promote that community. I wanted to embrace those sorts of runners who feel like they can't join a running club because they don't look like that girl. I don't look like that girl. I will never look like that girl. Don't get me wrong, she's stunning. But there's probably like 6% of the population who look like that, and the rest, who look like some version of me. And your determination to run, that motivation to go for your first run is usually awesome, but it wears off really, really quickly. And to remain motivated, to remain determined is one of the biggest skills that we need to develop as a runner. Running is probably 98% mental and only 2% of physical, and yet those magazine covers spruik the physical relentlessly. So much of it is mental. And for me, one of the biggest gifts I've been able to give myself as a runner is to know my why. So I mentioned it earlier that I run because I can. I run because I have the gift of a healthy body now, and I want to be able to remember that. And I also run to honor the people in my life who can't. It's a big thing for me, but I also feel that it's very, very important to have a goal. So initially I was obsessed with being able to run 5Ks, and how glorious it is for me anyway to achieve that. It's like having this kind of smile that starts in your solar plexus and radiates to the tips of your hair. Achieving goals is just a big part of my personality. It might not be yours, but I find that it's a really, really good way to keep myself motivated. Either sort of commit to a program, or maybe sign up for a race, or set myself a goal of being able to run up a hill that I couldn't run before. Those goals are vital. But there's another trick to it that took me about 6 or 7 years to learn and learn the hard way, which was to set a second goal. So what I used to do was set myself a goal to run 5Ks, and I would train for 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it was, and I would achieve it. And then I'd be so thrilled with myself that I'd go and lie on the couch for 3 months and eat ice cream. And then I would lose it all. And then I'd have to sort of start all over again. And I did that more than once. I did it for my first 5K. I did it for my first 10K. I did it for my first half marathon. And then I would spend 6 months having to relearn everything I'd already learned because I didn't keep going. So for me, the vital key was to set a second goal. So whether your first goal might be to run a 2K, perhaps set yourself a second goal, which is to run 5, or make it up the hill, and then after that, make it to the second lamppost after that, whatever it is. But I find that having that second goal has made all the difference to me keeping going. As a runner, you've got a huge range of tech, products, tools and tricks, resources that you can draw on. And it can be a bit overwhelming. But I would say that possibly the 2 things that I use the most that really help me are a running watch. Mine is a Garmin, they're fairly expensive, but really, really worth the investment if you're going to stick with it long term. And the second is a free membership to an app like Strava, or there's many similar ones like My Run, which for me is just incredibly motivating because it keeps track of my progress. It sends me little awards. You are the local legend of such and such street, meaning I'm the person who's run it the most, or today was your fastest 1K, or you're gradually getting fitter. It sends you these amazing little stats and insights that you wouldn't otherwise know. And as I've mentioned before, my goal-oriented brain is just terribly addicted to those sorts of motivations. So I would encourage you to look into both of those if you'd like your running to be something that you stick with for a while. And to just take stock of how brave it is and how hard it is to start. I mentioned earlier that runners can be a really intimidating bunch. We don't mean to be, but for the most part, runners look a certain way. They wear expensive t-shirts from overseas races. They use jargon. And inevitably, they might run faster than you do, especially to begin with. And that can be terrifying. So pat yourself on the back for even having the courage to take that first step, to go for that first run. It is scary, but it is also an amazing journey. So I've mentioned already that I have recently become an accredited running coach. So after about 8 or 9 years of running, still with my frizzy hair and my thick glasses and my gapped tooth smile and my beetroot face, I am an accredited running coach. And I, at the moment, support a bunch of amazing ladies in the St Ives area. But in coming weeks, I hope to roll out some online membership options for people who might live a little bit further away. So if you are interested in training, there's probably quite a bit that I can do to support you. I like to think of myself as a running coach for the human race. And I have a local group, which we affectionately call the Running Behind group, who currently meet twice a week on the St Ives Village Green. At the moment, the groups are at Mondays at 6 a.m. and Thursdays at 9:15. You can come to one or you can come to both. And babies, children, and dogs on a leash are very welcome. We incorporate them into the training. I know what it's like. I've been there. So by all means, if it's practical for you to bring them along, that's awesome. We are a group for every goal, every level, and everybody. At the moment, the St Ives training retails for about $120 for 10 sessions, but it's a bonus for being on the call tonight. And as my thank you to you, if you use the 25% discount code, which is UV25, you'll be able to get 25% off that.
That looks good. Yeah, wonderful.
And then coming soon, there's going to be some online membership options. Okay, so now bundled in with our love of running is another lesson it took me a very, very long time to learn, which is the importance of strength training. Now, running is essentially a series of coordinated falls. And in order to get yourself off the ground after every step, you need a couple of things. You need stability, you need muscle stiffness, but you need strength. It's a big thing. Core strength, glute strength, quads, calves, ankles, feet, strength. And it's a real shortcut to running for longer, running easier, running more efficiently. And if it's your thing, running a little bit faster. So Erin, our amazing host, as you know, is an incredible strength trainer and coach herself. Erin, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself or if you're happy for me just to hop straight off it and play your video. Hopefully you can see that. And here we go.
Hi everyone, my name's Erin Wade. I am the owner of Unearthed Vitality. We are a small group training facility in Gordon. And I just want to take you through a really quick 5-minute video about how strength training can really benefit your running. So a little bit of my history. I started my fitness journey about 10 years ago, and one of my goals was to run the city to surf. So I started doing personal training once a week, and I was also running up to 10 Ks twice a week to prep myself for the 14K City to Surf. So I did do that run, but I actually experienced a lot of knee pain and I wasn't actually very strong. So I really got into strength training because it's something I actually really, really enjoyed. Fast forward about it, probably about 2 years, a girlfriend of mine asked me to do the 9K bridge run. And I hadn't done any formal running training since the City to Surf. I had just been doing a lot of strength training. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I've got nothing to lose. Sure enough, I ran the best 9Ks I've ever run. I ran the fastest I've ever run. It felt so good. It felt so powerful. And my girlfriend, who had actually been running training for this event, I actually did better than her, and I hadn't done any training. So I really put it down to my strength training. So let's go through a few reasons why strength training is going to really help benefit your running. Decrease your risk of injury. So as you run, the force of about 3 times your body weight is placed through each leg. Like, that's pretty full on. So you need the muscular strength and stability to absorb that force, which is going to minimize the load through your joints and reduce your risk of pain or injury. So developing, glutes and good quad strength, calf muscles, and even your core is going to really support those joints, especially through the knees and hips. Improve muscle activation. So we all have muscles, right? So when we're running, we might think that we're using our glutes or our quads, but often our muscles need lots of activation. And this is what strength training will do. It will actually really wake up those muscles and actually, get them to work for you. So many of us have very, very lazy muscles. And unfortunately, when we're running, none of those muscles are working. And again, this is where all that, pain can come into play over time. So muscle activation, incredibly important to your running. So this one, guys, a little bit of a fancy one here: improve biomechanics and running economy. So biomechanics is just a fancy term for how you produce movement. So strengthening the muscles that support your body in like an ideal alignment while running can improve your biomechanics and result in more efficient use of energy, which is what we all want, right? We don't want to be trudging along, gasping for air. We want our body to be working as efficiently as possible. So in other words, improving your movement patterns means less wasted energy and faster running. How cool is that? So I asked a lot of people that I know in the fitness industry who run and do strength training, and these are some of the responses that I got. So a lot of them mentioned about their endurance was a lot better. Their recovery time was a lot better. They were much faster. So someone mentioned they knocked 8 minutes off their half marathon time, which is amazing. And this woman is 41 years old. Less knee pain, more power. Recovery and performance in regards to strength training. So that's a pretty big win if you add strength training to your running protocol. One thing to remember though, guys, as we get older, our muscles naturally start to decline. And 1 in 4 Aussies, unfortunately, have osteoporosis. So older adult runners who have reduced muscle mass are potentially more at risk of joint and soft tissue injuries. That's why strength training, especially our older adults, is incredibly important. So we can build that lean muscle mass to support all those joints and ligaments and also improve that bone density. So what are the movements to focus on in regards to strength training and running? Big compound movements: squats, deadlifts, lunging, some plyometrics, sort of jumping work, and especially core work. It's really important that you do a really structured program. You're getting the right care and you have the right technique. It's really crucial that you start just from body weight before you start increasing your weight. So training with a qualified strength coach is absolutely optimal. Just remember, guys, gaining muscle will not slow you down. It will actually speed you up. Thanks.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Erin. We can't underestimate how powerful strength training is as part of your running process. If you want to think about getting a little bit stronger, doing some strength training, please chat to Erin. I'm sure she'll have some awesome opportunities with her gym, Unearth Vitality, and she'll be able to hook you up with all of those opportunities. I do have a couple of freebies to give you by way of thanks for joining us tonight. If you are new to running, you might like a free Couch to 2K, which I lovingly call my Slouch to Slowly program. So I will email that to you along with this recording. And an article that I've written called Why Slow is Your Superpower. So as runners, we can get terribly focused on the fact that we're not fast. Especially, when you see a group of runners, perhaps from a marathon club out on the road, and you just think, oh my God, I'm never going to be like that. Well, the big thing that has taken me years to learn, that slow is actually awesome. Slow can be a gift. Slow is a superpower. Slow means you are less likely to get injured. It means you'll have a longer career as a runner. It means that your heart is working in a particular zone that is actually really, really good for you. It means you've got more time to appreciate the sunrise and chat to the neighborhood dog and do all the fun things that running is great for. Slow is not a barrier to being a runner. In fact, I think it's one of the greatest gifts we can have. And I would really love the running community to stop being so obsessed with fast. So I think that's about it from me. If you have any questions, I'd love you to unmute yourselves or switch on your cameras or just pop something in the chat box, which I will try and find. And I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Hi, Andrea. This is Ava. Hello. Hi. I don't have a question at the moment, but I just wanted to say that I thought your presentation was really excellent in terms of it was very honest and it was very heartfelt, and you touched on some points that myself, as well as I'm sure other maybe other people on this video call feel the same about, that you feel a bit slow and you don't really love exercise, but so I just want to let you know that I thought it was a very good presentation. So thank you for inspiring us today.
I really appreciate that.
That's all.
Thanks, Thank you. Anybody else want to shower me with compliments? Because I'm here all night.
I will.
Yeah, I will too. I thought you did a great job, Andrea. I haven't met you before, but I have seen I did originally sign up for the Facebook trial, but I have been suffering with Achilles tendonitis. So I've been trying to repair that before I come back to any training. One question I had for you though is, in the training sessions, on like Mondays and Thursdays, what sort of things do you do?
Sure, great question. So it usually starts with a 5-minute walk and then a guided warm-up session. So we'll probably warm up for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I try and explain a little bit of theory, why we're doing things, why I'm asking you to do certain exercises and what the benefit is for running. I will also always take the time to talk to you about your goals. So I have ladies who want to be able to run their first 2Ks without stopping. I have another lady who's training for a 10K, and I have some women who are more than capable of running a half marathon without training, but that's rare. The vast majority of my clients are kind of in that 2 to 5K range, but everybody is welcome. And then what I do is, once we've finished the warm up and we've talked about theory, and I've usually asked them to remember their why, because it's huge for me, we then go on a guided run on the road. And it'll be slightly different for everybody. So, a group of ladies might just sort of run intervals across the field while others run laps on a 1K or 2K loop around the streets. So it's very kind of, it caters for all levels, hopefully. And yeah, it takes about an hour.
Okay. And Erin, I was just going to ask, Erin, where do you come into the mix?
Yes, yeah, thank you. So we have a small gym in Gordon, and we have a big emphasis on strength training, but doing it in a really safe way. So it's really important for us, because we work with a lot of women and a lot of mums. We have a huge focus on pelvic floor health, which is super important, especially if you're going to be running, a lot of impact, so important. it's a muscle. If we don't use it, we lose it essentially. So it's incredibly important that we include your pelvic floor health into our training. So you're able to strength train, so you're able to run and do all these things that we hopefully enjoy. We also really focus on mobility, which is incredibly important. Especially for running, many of us, sit at desks and we're tight, our posture's pretty average. So mobility is so important. Then we have a big emphasis on strength training. And this is where we have anyone from absolute newbies who've never been into a gym environment, in their life, to someone who might have been training with us for, 5 years. So just like what Andrea was saying, all different levels we're able to cater for, but doing it in a really safe, nurturing way is really important as well, because just like running, strength training can be incredibly intimidating. So we try and make it as enjoyable experience as possible. And then we also work on your cardiovascular fitness by doing lots of interval training as well. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. Our type of training would definitely complement running training, that's for sure. It would make your experience a little bit easier, and we definitely share the very similar philosophies like Andrea. We're not here to be these fit supermodel looking people, couldn't care less about that. But yeah, if we get an hour to ourselves, mental health, that's just so incredibly important. And if we get a little bit stronger, a little bit fitter, then we'll take that as well. But most importantly is that we enjoy it. So yeah, that's where we fit. Hope that makes sense.
And how many in your group, Andrea?
We've actually only just started up again. So I offered it for about 8 weeks last year, and then we had a break over Christmas and January. So Monday was my first session. I think there were about 8 or 9 ladies there. And I'll be offering another one on Thursday. I think I've got about 10 registered. So it is quite a small group. Under COVID guidelines, I can't train more than 30 people, but I wouldn't want to. I like to keep it in that 10 to 15 kind of range, because I feel like it's really important for me to understand each runner. Everybody's running potentially with injuries, and certainly with a large mental load. We're all running under the weight of our family expectations and the fact that we need to be home for the school run, and whether or not we paid the lighting bill and all of those things. And if I understand what's going on in your life, I can kind of cater to it a little bit better, and I can certainly build a running program that will work to your specific goal and to whatever availability you've got in terms of training. And just to sort of link in again with Erin and the strength training, there's a few questions in the chat box too about whether we incorporate sprints. And I would say, yes, we sometimes do, but it's not every session. Sprints and interval training are one way of getting stronger, building up a bit of fitness, but there's many, many, many avenues to running success. If you do want to start a running program, I would suggest that, I'd love you to come along and train with me, but you don't have to. You can download any Couch to 5K or similar program and run on your own. It's just a good idea, though, to make time to run, I'd say probably twice a week, and strength train at least once, maybe twice a week. So it's important to do both those things. There's probably no point in signing up to a running program and running 5 days a week and not doing any strength training, because you're just going to get injured. It's too much running and it's too much load and not enough of the other stuff to help support you. So just find something that's going to work for you, but try and build in time for a rest day and try and build in time for strength, because those things are just as important as the actual running program, if not more important. Just check the chat box. Was there any other questions that I can answer?
Yes, Andrea, I have a question.
Yep.
Do I have to put my video on?
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Hi.
I don't know if you can see me, but hi.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been running for a little while now, and I run two minutes on, and then I walk for 2 minutes. Is it better to run and walk short intervals, or to run for longer and walk for longer? Like for run a K and then walk a K, like, because I've been noticing your programs are that, and I run shorter.
Yeah.
Do you understand the question?
I do. Look, once again, there are so many ways to achieve your goal, and running for 2 minutes, walking for 2 minutes is fine. But ultimately, what you do want to do over a period of time is to increase the load on your body, because that's how you're going to get fitter and be able to go for longer. So it is important to ramp up, have longer runs and shorter walks, or to have faster runs. If you want to keep the run going for the same period of time, just go a little bit faster. Not in the first week, not in the second week, maybe not even the first 3 or 4, but over time, that load that you place on your body in your effort needs to increase, and then you can recover through a shorter walk or a slower walk or whatever the case may be, but don't stop. And then to follow that up with other things which are just as important, which is things like eating well, especially eating protein after a workout, paying attention to your hydration and your sleep, which is really, really critical. All of those things are going to mean that your recovery is more effective, and then your next week's training program can take effect. So you're not doing anything wrong. You can walk for as long as you want to walk, and and run for as long as you want to. But I would suggest that your running needs to either get faster or longer every week or every second week. And I'm more than happy to design a program, especially for you, once I know what your goals are.
Thanks, that makes lots of sense. Thank you.
Erin, I had clients asking about tips on how to breathe when you run, and even how to stride. Will you cover this in your sessions, or have any links or any tips? Sure, I can cover it. Breathing, yeah, it's a difficult one, especially for new runners, and especially for runners who might have, say, asthma or something like that, and especially in Sydney, where we're dealing with very high levels of pollen. So it can be tricky. And almost like anything else, you need to rehearse your breathing as much as you rehearse your running. It just takes a while to get the hang of it. And it's slightly different for everybody. So some people like to sort of breathe in possibly for 3 or 4 strides and then breathe out for 2, or breathe in for 2, breathe out for 2. And as your effort increases, the rate at which you breathe and how you breathe in and breathe out is going to change. But I would suggest that for the most part, if you can, try and breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. And how to stride, yeah, that's a good question. If you watch any sort of elite level marathon, like Eliud Kipchoge running a sub 2-hour marathon, or the New York Marathon, you'll see these amazing runners with these incredible bodies doing these phenomenal gazelle-like strides. I can't really stand up now to show you, but I'm sure you've seen it on TV. I would suggest that you don't do that. For the most part, you and I can't do that. We just don't have that physicality. We don't have that that level of flexibility and intensity that has been built up over years and generations, usually running on the plains of Kenya. And we can't do a thing called heel striking, which is what most of those runners can do. So as a runner, especially if you haven't run before, or perhaps if you're carrying a bit of weight or an injury, it's actually quite important to try and keep your feet under you all the time. So you kind of just imagine that you're in a straight line, or very, very slightly leaning forward from your ankles, so that you can fall forward, but that your feet for the most part are taking smaller strides, but are always kind of working away under your hips, like a duck does underwater, so that you remain upright, and that the impact is happening in a kind of up and down line, and that you're not putting any vast impact on your heel, but instead the impact is coming through your midfoot or even on your toes, so that your feet, which have got this incredible ability to respond to impact, can work the way they're intended to work. If you strike on your heel, you're far more likely to get injured in your hips, in your pelvis, or in your iliotibial band. So running with your feet under you and landing on your midfoot is a great way to try and run. For the most part, though, you don't need to worry too much about stride. I think that your body's been designed to run or walk for you, and it's been working that way for years. And unless it's causing a really specific injury, you probably don't need to work too hard to change it, as long as your feet are kind of under you most of the time, that you're landing on your midfoot most of the time. Yeah, if you have a heel injury, or it's particularly hurting your hips or your pelvis or your lower back, we might need to have a look. There are some tools that you can do for gait analysis. I can certainly provide those to you. But yeah, it's not something you need to worry about too much.
Yeah.
That's so good to know. And I think it just sort of, puts everything into perspective, that it's not about, we always look, how do we breathe? And we've got to do this style and that style. It's just all about up here.
Yeah.
And that just makes a lot of sense. Let's not get caught up in the, the sort of the science of it all. Just do it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And look,
thank you.
the most valuable resource you have as a runner is not your watch or your expensive shoes or your premium Strava membership. It's the 6 inches between your ears. And most of every running journey is just the battle between wanting to keep going and wanting to stop. And you rehearse your mental game just as much, if not more, than your physical one. Yeah. So it's all part of the running thing. So we can think a lot about running, we can think a lot about breathing, we can think a lot about striding, and you should, but you can also just trust the process. Your body actually already knows how to run.
Yeah, I
With
love
a little
that.
bit of practice, it will remember.
Yeah, trust the process. No, brilliant. Thank you.
Juliet has asked, do I have any tips for people who get blisters under the arch? Is this common when starting out? Every time I start a running plan, I end up with blisters after 2 kilometers and can't progress. I'm sorry to hear that, Juliet. It's not great. I mean, some people are certainly more prone to blisters than others. I would say the first thing you need to do is probably go and get a really good shoe consultation. So if you are local to the St. Ives area, you can go to the Shoe Guru at St. Ives Shopping Centre, and if you tell them that you run with the Slow Coach, they'll give you a 10% discount on your shoes. There are so many kinds of running shoes, and they all do different things. And the right shoe will go a long way to making running a bit easier and decreasing the rub that is causing those blisters. But there are also some other great things you can buy from a pharmacy, some blister patches that will help lessen that impact. And believe it or not, it's also sometimes just persistence. Your feet build up a resilience and a memory after a period of time, and those blisters should decrease. But it would certainly always start with a good shoe fitting. Have you tried doing... Okay, Erin, there we go. Yes, definitely do strength training. That will help too. Awesome. Anything else?
Sorry, Andrea, I was answering Sarah Madden's question at the top, just below Juliet's question about the knee pain. And I was just asking her if she had done that pre-strength training or post-strength training, because Sarah's had lots of babies in between.
Oh,
so
okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I might have missed the thing about knee pain, but absolutely. Stronger legs are one of the best ways to sort of insure yourself against knee pain. Possibly having a little bit look at your running stride, keeping that impact slower, your feet under you, your cadence slightly higher, but stronger legs, stronger quads, stronger calves, a stronger core. That's going to take a lot of pressure off your knees as well. Okay, I feel like I've talked forever. That's coming on for 50 minutes of me chattering away. If you have a final question, you're welcome to ask it now. Otherwise, I might just say thank you very much for your time and your attention. It means the world. I am really quite blown away that there is such a great reception to this idea that you don't have to be fast or fabulous or strong to be a runner, and that everybody can run. And I would just strongly encourage you to explore running as a great avenue to a more profound experience of life, better mental health, weight loss, if that's what you're after, but it doesn't have to be part of the journey, and a sense of accomplishment. It really has transformed my life, and I would love it if it could transform yours. Okay. So I will email you with a copy of this recording and some resources, and also all my contact information in case you have any other questions. And thank you once again. Lovely to see you all.
Andrea.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, amazing. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. Bye-bye.